Before we get started, I feel the need to make a quick note about Disney. The Disney Company, through smaller subsidiary organizations, funded the election and re-election campaigns of several members of the Florida legislature who have gone on to craft the infamous Don't Say Gay bill. While Disney did eventually apologize for their part in helping this come about, have pledged to reassess their giving practices, and there's now even been reporting that behind the scenes the company was trying to dissuade legislators from passing the bill, I still feel the need to point this out, and it was all going on while Disney has been continuing to push to market harder and harder to LGBTQIA+ individuals and to present themselves as a corporation friendly to such people. While statements from the company are leaning in the right direction, I am waiting to see more concrete action from them before I stop putting this marker in front of things. You can see a link down in the description for my full videos on the topic. I gotta be honest. Of all the backsides I've seen in my life, backside of water would not make the top 10. Hey folks, another review of just a movie from the past couple years that I happen to now have seen while unwinding with my partner, Jungle Cruise. It ain't great, but I still think it's kind of interesting to talk about, to sort of examine the ways in which it messes up what the movies it's clearly taking inspiration from managed to do. So those movies, for my money, are two main inspirations. One, The Mummy, 1999, Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and The Pirates of the Caribbean. I would say the first two mainly, but the original trilogy in general, is the vibe it's aiming for. It is aiming for fun, adventure, supernatural twist, and just that kind of vibe. And it doesn't get it. And it's especially disappointing seeing somebody like The Rock, because a movie that captures this general vibe and also does more interesting things much better, that has The Rock in it, is Jumanji. Actually, even the Jumanji sequel that he was in captured the vibe better than this does. And there's a number of reasons. First of all, the thing is too long. And I understand why it thinks it can get away with over 2 hours, because that around about 2 hours, little over, is about the runtime of that first Mummy movie and that first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. But the thing is, those filled out the time by having a lot of stuff happen in sequence. Like that first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, we go through all the stuff from the assault on the town, the kidnapping of Elizabeth Swann, Jack teaming up with Will, they head out, they're being chased, they finally catch up with the pirates, everything that goes on there. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens. And similarly with the Mummy, a little bit of initial flashback stuff, but then like these people have to find each other and team up. They go out to find this crypt. They have competing people looking for the same stuff. The Mummy finally gets raised. He's on a mission to do certain stuff. They have to try and stop him. He succeeds anyway. Then they have to deal, a lot of stuff happens. Not nearly as much stuff feels like it happens in this. The vast majority of it is just they're on the river working their way towards their destination. And theoretically, that's filled out with character stuff, but it's not good or deep enough to take up as much time as it does. A lot of the stuff feels repetitive or redundant and doesn't move things forward narratively, for the characters, or whatever. So rather than having a lot of stuff happen, this has a lot of lore, which I think is where it took inspiration from the latter Pirates of the Caribbean movies, to its detriment. Because for the simple, fun, rollicking adventure it wants to be, this is way too complicated, the way all this works. And there's a twist in regards to one of the lead characters, which is not uninteresting, but again, doesn't actually add or change very much to the dynamic that's at play, and just, again, becomes one more thing that needs to be explained and is massively overcomplicated. And we have our obligatory stand-ins for the ghost pirates from the original Pirates of the Caribbean in the form of jungle-infested conquistadors. And again, it's aping elements from films it wishes it was, but doesn't seem to understand how the previous films made those things work. So it's largely a frustrating movie because it's got good actors in it. Clearly a lot of money went into it. Although, while they're good actors, can I be honest, Emily Blunt and The Rock don't have great. I should stop calling him The Rock. Like, that is just his wrestling name. I really got to get in the habit of calling him Dwayne Johnson. But anyway, Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson don't have very good chemistry, like as performers, and definitely not romantically. I remember before the release, there were a lot of rumors about Jack White's character, that he was going to be gay, and that there were concerns in early test screenings that he was very flamboyant, limp-wristed, etc., and that there were reshoots around that. I don't know if that was ever confirmed one way or the other. I will say that the character is incredibly strongly hinted at being gay, and I do want to make that clear. There is a difference between being coded gay and actually directly hinting at them being gay. Because, like, tons of Disney, like, Scar from The Lion King is coded gay. Oh, I shall practice my curtsy. Like, the dude's coded gay, but there isn't really anything that indicates he might actually be. This, without actually saying it, if you're gonna do it, Disney, frickin' say it. Like, boy, have we done this dance a lot lately with Disney. But anyways, but he basically has a conversation with The Rock that it's hard to interpret as anything other than him saying he is gay. So, as a character, he ends up being, as presented, again, I don't know if it was worse in test screenings. I heard it was. I don't know if that's true. But he is presented as just kind of foppish in a way that can read a certain type of stereotypical gay, but could also just read as like English dandy, pampered, somewhat, not used to dealing with the real world, just British. And it works either way, but they strongly indicate which it is. So as far as this thing goes, taking into account the failure to actually just say it for real, like accepting that happens, actually the character's okay. He's all right. He's fine. I didn't find him offensive, at least as presented here. Maybe he was at earlier iterations. I don't know. I didn't see the test screenings. The villains, okay, can I just, I'm real sick of how common it is becoming for major special effects elements to be hidden in darkness. Like, this does it. I remember complaining about the opening scenes from the very first Fantastic Beasts movies. You can barely see what's going on. And it just seems to be something that's happening a lot. A lot of stuff is just so shrouded in darkness. And on the one hand, I'm tempted to go, well, it hides the seams of the special effects. Like, yes, they have to figure out how the lighting engine works, and that is a different kind of work. But, they're avoiding the harsh light of day and showing these things in all their glory, which can potentially cover a lot of sins in terms of, how good or seamless the effect is. I can think that, but then at the same time, I can think back to the fact that Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest was like, what, 15 years ago? And, Bill Nye did motion capture, but that entire face for Davy Jones is CGI. And that's shot in broad daylight for most of the movie. So to me, it says that they don't have people who understand how this works. Like, Gore Verbinski had more of a visual effects background, so he probably understood that he had to work with the VFX team to get it as good as he did, whereas I strongly suspect other directors just do whatever they can to make it as easy and require the least work possible, because it's probably harder to do the work to make it look good in daylight. But oh my God, I'm so sick of this stuff being drenched in darkness. It's just so annoying. And there's also like unfortunately, it doesn't do a good job of avoiding a lot of the inherent problems with this type of treasure hunt adventure story, which is the colonialism and sort of the underlying racism behind a lot of it. Now, it does hang a lampshade on some of it in the same way that actually friggin' Maverick did in the mid-90s, which is to have the local indigenous population, we see them at a point portrayed very stereotypically, like, really, that's not okay. But then it's revealed this is an act. They're not actually like that. They're doing it like as a favor for somebody, or because it's to their advantage for people to think this about them or whatever. And like, yeah, that's there, but it also still doesn't do much to avoid the fact that you still show us that depiction. You hang a lampshade on it, but you do still show that to us, which that's not great. And then in addition to that, there's the inherent undercurrent that, like, The natives for whom this is their own actual ancestral history, this area, these places, these ruins, this culture, this mythology is theirs, but the white people have to come in and find it. Yeah, it's just, as I said, some of the stuff is baked in to these concepts. And like some of the other things I've cited don't get it. Like The Mummy, as much as I love it, and it's so much fun, actually is kind of bad about this. It helps a little bit in that we have Oded Fehr's character in that, who is kind of standing in as a representative, and he is invested, and he is active, and he is from that local culture. But there are so many nameless local Egyptian workers who just get killed for the sake of a gory death in that movie. Like it's not good. It's kind of bad about that. But then you've got something like, say, the first Pirates of the Caribbean, which, yeah, the fact that it's an Aztec treasure does play into this a little bit, but they're not going to steal it from Aztec areas. That already happened. And it was done apparently by Cortez, who's a douchebag. So we're not valorizing the guy who initially stole this wealth. And the outcome is that these people who have gotten their hands on it since are now cursed. So like it removes, while it keeps some of the problematic elements in the origin of that treasure, it removes it from that direct context, which helps. I'm not going to say it fully gets rid of all the issues that are, again, largely inherent to this genre, but like there are things you can do to soften it. And this movie kind of only does one. And that, as I said, I've seen done before since the mid-90s. And honestly, Maverick did it better. This was disappointing, is what this was. Not to say I had the highest expectations in the world for it, but rather, like, I just wanted I wanted to be able to kick back, relax, and just have fun, which is what it's like when I watch the first Pirates of the Caribbean, when I watch The Mummy. This just didn't have it. It didn't capture it. And I wonder if part of it has to do with the director. The director has an odd background, and not really in this kind of rollicking adventure genre. Because, well, I mean, like, Gore Verbinski was kind of all over the place with what he did. He was kind of hard to nail down. But somebody like Stephen Sommers, like, his background was very much in crowd pleasers. He was a good fit for The Mummy. Gore Verbinski proved to be one. Like I said, a little bit of a very all over the place, list of films up to that point. But he did still have some, like, let's do fun. This director doesn't really have that, and I have to wonder if it was just a bad fit, if they didn't find someone who had the... Not that it's a movie that needs, like, strong directorial vision, but, like, somebody who knows how to just keep it fun. Because this should have been fun. And it's just kind of there. Jungle Cruise. I'd hoped for better. If you want a better adventure movie with Dwayne Johnson, watch Jumanji: Into the Jungle. Or Welcome to the Jungle, whatever it is. Watch that one. That you'll get much better bang for your buck. But whatever your thoughts are on this, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Like, share, subscribe. Patreons, how we pay the bills, and all that stuff. Don't worry too much about that, though. Take a relaxed attitude around here so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And credits. I got to shout out my top Patreon supporters, so thank you very much to Zubin Lutfullah, Tarak, Oliver B, Melinda Walters, Leotha Boy, TT, Renobulax the Poodle, Eidolon, Tracy Scrabbit, Vincent Paul Bartolucci, Angry Caspero, Adam Lefty Taylor, Shane Ross, Robin Moore, Shayla Gourlay, and Brendan LaRose. Couldn't do it without you.